Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Well, the Premier has vented frustrations over North West shoppers heading to local stores for non-essential trips when restrictions were eased yesterday. He's reiterated it's not a time for complacency, despite Tasmania recording no new cases of coronavirus for the 4th day in a row.
Car parks filled to the brim with eager shoppers, just hours after tough additional restrictions were lifted on the northwest yesterday. It's these scenes that have left the Premier frustrated.
For the life of me, I can't understand why, if somebody has to go out and purchase something that's essential, why when they pull into a car park and there's a long line of people outside the shop, they don't choose to come back at a time when the store's less busy.
Saying it's not the time to become complacent, despite Tasmania recording no new coronavirus cases for the 4th consecutive day. Warning social distancing and widespread testing will be in place for the foreseeable future.
It's important that until a vaccine is found that we continue to follow the rules of social distancing. That is just so important. I cannot stress that enough.
We've got to maintain that for weeks and months of people finding as part of a routine thing to do if you get a mild respiratory symptom to go and get tested for coronavirus.
We'd urge the government to adopt Labor's idea to provide testing at places where people are, like supermarkets and retail outlets, so that we can capture as many people as possible.
Authorities confirming there's been no more cases as part of the Circular Head cluster, but 34 associated people remain in quarantine. In a more positive step forward, Northwest hospitals are reopening a suite of spaces today, including birthing services.
We've also seen the ICU, radiation and medical records areas of the hospital open, and we're going to see, as the week rolls on, surgical wards reopen as well as paediatrics.
Tasmania's total coronavirus cases remain at 221. Just 43 of those are active.
New employment data has shed a light on the devastating impact coronavirus has had so far on Tasmanian jobs. To explain more, we cross live now to our reporter Michelle Wisby. Good evening, Michelle. Now, which sector has been most affected?
Kim, it's not really a surprise with the mass hospitality shutdowns enforced several weeks ago now that it's accommodation and food service jobs that have suffered the most. We've seen the ABS data from that almost 1/3 of those jobs have been lost since March 14. That's followed by art and recreation employment dropping by around 27%. Overall, Tasmanian jobs have decreased by 8%, the second largest drop in the nation. And as a result of changes in employment, such as people moving to part-time work, wages have also dropped by more than 9%. And Kim, the Premier has warned any more jobs data released in the next few months will continue to reflect this current crisis.
Direct flights between Tasmania and New Zealand are being seriously considered under the bold plan to create a trans-Tasman bubble. One local business with strong Kiwi links has been hit hard by the crisis, but says reopening the border could also open an economic goldmine.
Australia and New Zealand's 2 southern islands share one thing in common: world-class whisky. Something Hobart entrepreneur Greg Ramsey discovered on a tasting tour 10 years ago, which turned into a multi-million-dollar venture.
I went over and took Bill Lark over with me, and we did an appraisal of it, and we ended up, getting some investors together and buying it.
But the shutdown has left a sour taste. The business's flagship cellar door across the ditch has closed, cutting off a quarter of the company's revenue, while major investments have to be monitored from afar.
This Friday, actually, we're craning in our new distillery into the Spates Mill House down in Dunedin. So it's a bit strange to be so far away and disconnected from such a fundamental part of the growth of our company.
I'd literally be in New Zealand right now as we speak if it was available.
More than 21,000 Kiwis visited the state last year, and soon it could be easier than ever to fly between our islands. The Premier says a direct flight across the Tasman is being discussed as part of a so-called travel bubble between Australia and New Zealand.
And that's an opportunity that we will look at, and it's one that I'm looking to pursue.
Tasmania used to have direct flights to New Zealand in the 80s and 90s. The pandemic could provide an unexpected push towards reinstating the link.
We were already looking at New Zealand and ramping up our activities there before COVID-19. If Australia and New Zealand can form that economic bubble and get ahead of the rest of the world, then we think Tasmania will be the new destination in Australia that the Kiwis are looking for.
Hobart Airport says it is ready to work with airlines and government to make it happen, but concedes flights won't take off anytime soon.
As Australia has become, to its credit, more connected to Asia and more basically just a more global, society, maybe New Zealand is seen almost a little bit of a domestic travel market.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
A fourth dedicated respiratory clinic has opened its doors to help stop the spread of coronavirus. The new clinic in Hobart is the final one to be set up in Tasmania, designed to keep potentially COVID-positive patients separated from doctors' surgeries. The building has been retrofitted to keep patients safe, and staff have undergone special training.
This clinic has been set up to assess patients experiencing moderate to mild respiratory symptoms who would usually go to a general practitioner. So we're looking to work with general practitioners to alleviate the strain on the practices and also the public health system.
The clinics are now in operation in Devonport, St Helens, Launceston and Hobart. Appointments need to be made for the specialist service. Police are continuing to probe the cause of a fatal truck crash near Eaglehawk Neck yesterday morning. Investigators say the 42-year-old driver was thrown from the vehicle as it rolled and spilt its cargo of live chickens. Police believe failure to wear a properly fitted and adjusted seatbelt contributed to the man's death. Authorities are asking for any witnesses to come forward, including the driver of a light-coloured small sedan that was travelling south on the Arthur Highway. There may not be any people, machinery or livestock on the AgFest site this year, but organisers are aiming to transfer the experience online. They've set up a virtual festival cloud, giving hundreds of exhibitors an alternate way to sell their products.
Turning the soil is part and parcel of life on the land. It's what makes Ruth and Philip Patterson's line of farm gadgets an appetising prospect for customers at AgFest.
Farmers like to come around, see and touch and feel the gear traditionally.
Not this year. The only browsing will be done behind a screen, the pair preparing to take their business online as part of an innovative virtual AgFest platform.
Online's going to be very different, but it's the best we've got for this year, and we're very grateful for it.
More than 400 exhibitors have already signed up for the event, which has been extended from 3 days to 3 weeks.
So it gives everyone the extra opportunity to spend a bit more local and to get a few more products that you've been after for a while.
The annual Agriculture Showcase cancelled this year due to COVID-19. The site today empty and quiet, a far cry from years past. Usually 24 hours before the event, this car park would be starting to fill up. Instead, the entire ground is being ploughed for the first time in 40 years.
It's quite an eerie feeling when you go out there now because there's nothing happening, and normally it's just bustling with people.
Upwards of 60,000 normally rush through the gates over the 3 days. Organisers are hoping just as many will visit the website.
We'd love to see them all jump online and support local Tasmanian businesses. Everyone's dying out for some help.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
And the state government has released a 30-year plan for our farmers with the aim of growing the annual value of Tasmania's agricultural sector to $10 billion. The plan will focus on 3 priority areas: value adding to our products, digital transformation and being responsive to change.
Agriculture will be part of our future, and in terms of opportunities to create more jobs, particularly in those rural and regional areas, we're very grateful for that.
The Minister says the industry will be more important than ever in the state's recovery from the crisis. The impact of the coronavirus has forced organisers of Hobart's Mother's Day Fun Run to go online for this year's event. Organisers are launching a virtual race, challenging locals to complete the 4 or 8 kilometres in their own backyard.
It's an annual tradition. raising money for an important cause. The Mother's Day Classic has been run since 1998, with millions of dollars raised for breast cancer research.
In 2020, 20,000 women here in Australia will be diagnosed with breast cancer, so it's now more important than ever that we need to make a difference and make a stop to this.
The Domain in Hobart this year, however, will be silent, with coronavirus forcing the gathering to be cancelled. It hasn't stopped the fundraising, with Tasmanians able to register online and take part in their own suburb.
They can take part in their own backyard, on their treadmill at home, doing 4K or 8K, anywhere they like, local parks, and we just want to see a massive sea of pink.
It's great that we can still all do it and participate to raise much needed funds and awareness, even just doing it from home with your immediate family.
Runners also encouraged to dress up and post pictures on their social media. And while it'll be a different race, its virtual aspect has opened the door to more participants and hopefully more donations.
And we're seeing people from the north to the east coast, west coast, all taking part. So it is going to be a massive event this Sunday.
Local gym BroFit Tasmania signing up to support the cause, with up to 20 of its members and its co-owners signing up.
It's a great event to raise awareness and money, so it's so great that we are actually able to do it virtually.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
The Bank of Heritage Isle is closing all its physical Tasmanian branches as part of a major restructure, leaving 22 jobs in limbo. The company says it's moving towards a more digitised business approach and will continue its online banking services. The Georgetown and Hobart branches are already closed due to the pandemic, with Beaconsfield and Launceston due to close in the coming weeks.
Good evening. Well, the weather may be cooling down, but haven't we had some magnificent sunsets this week? Well, at sunrise this morning it was -2 at Lyowini. Later in the day, Hobart reached 17, just one shy of the top of 18 at St Helens. Launceston 16 today, Burnie and Devonport 15. Mostly fine and sunny apart from cloudy conditions over the west. Grove, Ouse and Campania 17. Friendly beaches in the Bass Strait Islands 16. Smithton and Lowerhead 15 today. Strawn and Lyowini 14. The low-level cloud pushed over the west of the state, and it was also evident over the central north later in the day, a bit wisping off the top of the east coast. More cloud sits along the northern New South Wales, southern Queensland coast, responsible for a few thunderstorms there. Another band extends across southwest WA over the Bight. Tomorrow, the high moves over the Tasman Sea. A cold front and several troughs are attached to a low over the Southern Ocean, a trough also over central Queensland. Northwesterly winds at 10 to 20 knots, reaching 30 knots over the south, but lighter over the inland lakes. And we have a strong wind warning the south from Tasman Island to Low Rocky Point. Midweek in Hobart, partly cloudy and 19, 18 the top for Geeveston, bit of cloud for Bothwell, 16 the maximum. Launceston tomorrow, 17 the high and a cloudy day. Cloudy also for Devonport and Cressy, both on 16 degrees. Burnie cloudy and 16, 17 the top for Strawn with a light morning shower. Partly cloudy on King Island, Curry a top of 16 degrees. And for St Helens partly cloudy, 17 for Swansea, Orford 18 degrees. On Thursday, light showers over the west, crossing over the north and northeast in the evening. Showers on Friday, firstly over the west, central and north, extending elsewhere by evening, and showers easing on Saturday with snow down to the 600 metre mark. A showery day up north tomorrow in Perth, mostly sunny for Adelaide and Melbourne, fine as well for Canberra and Sydney, a shower clearing from Brisbane. Clear in Hobart at the moment, 11 degrees, 13 in Launceston, cloudy in Devonport and 13 degrees. Kim, I think I'm going to be joining all those panic buyers searching for those meat specials tomorrow, 50 cents a kilo off.
Indeed, Murph. I took you as an eye fillet man myself, but maybe it's sausages. That's your news for now. I'll be back later with updates. Thanks for joining us. Good night.